Hello. Hey, it is Jamila McMallow, mindset coach and relationship expert for successful professional women. The women I work with are winning in their professions and businesses, but want to experience that same success in their personal lives, specifically in their relationships with men, and of course, their relationship with themselves. Now, this is the second part of a four-part video series that I'm really talking about where I'm focusing on women who feel like they keep finding themselves returning back to their exes. In the video yesterday, we talked about stop going back to your ex. And I told you that today I was going to talk about why you keep going back to your ex. So if you're watching this live, please drop a comment in the chat. If you're watching the replay, please drop a hashtag replay. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please click the notification bell and subscribe to my channel because I really would love for you to be here because, like I said, it's 4 parts. So we're going to be talking about some more things tomorrow. So why do you keep going back to your ex? The main and primary reason why is because he's familiar to you. He is what is familiar. You have already invested some time into getting to know him. You feel like he knows you. And so it feels like it's going to be easy. Sometimes the idea of starting over with someone new seems like, oh, it seems daunting, mainly because we feel like, well, he knows where, all the skeletons are, where all the bodies are buried in my life. I've, shared all my secrets with him. And so he knows my flaws and things like that. And so I don't really have to open up and be any more vulnerable with him like I would if I met a new guy. If I met a new guy, I'd have to tell him all of these things that I think are so terrible about myself and risk being judged and risk being rejected. But my ex feels like a sure thing because he already knows me. So it's just a matter of us kind of picking up from where we left off and doing our best, to make it work. So he's familiar. But why he's familiar to you is really because he is a part of your pattern, your relationship attraction pattern. He's not the first man that you have attracted who has made you feel the way that he has made you feel, which is rejected, which is gaslit, which is manipulated, which is betrayed, which is taken advantage of, perhaps even made to feel like you're stupid or like, yeah, whatever, or putting you down. He's not the first man that's done that to you. You've experienced that in previous relationships. And if we take it all the way back, it may be very familiar from what you experienced in childhood from one or both of your parents. Okay. But he's familiar. So it's like an old sock. Yeah, he feels it's comfortable, whatever. But is toxicity really comfortable? Is being unhappy really comfortable? Is that what you want? Is that the price that you're willing to pay simply to have someone to go to the movies with on occasion and to maybe take as a date to maybe your friend's wedding or whatever? Is your emotional and mental health worth it? Is your self-esteem taking another hit? Is that worth it? See, these are the questions you have to ask yourself. Because if that's what's familiar to you, that's a problem. If toxicity is familiar to you, if drama is familiar to you, if chaos is familiar to you, and here's what I want you to understand is that being cheated on and manipulated and mistreated and put down are the acts, the things that your ex has done to you. But what's familiar is how those things made you feel. So ask yourself, the feelings I experienced from being treated this way, is that really what I want to be my version of normal and familiar? Is this what I want to model for my daughter that she should accept from a man? Is this what I want to model for my son, that because I'm accepting it, it's okay and he should imitate this behavior in his future relationships with women? See, if you're a mother, you got to think like that too. It's not just about you. Your behavior is also impacting your children. They're watching everything that you do. They are your living, breathing audience. They know your flaws more than you do because they staring all day long and learning the whole time, wide open, just accepting everything that you do and say as their truth. And it's going to govern their lives going forward. So recognize the power that your example is setting even on them, and why you really have to question the fact that these things are familiar to you. And do I want them to be familiar? Well, I'm sure now that I'm putting it in this context, you're going, no, I don't want that. I don't want that to be my normal. I don't want that to be my familiar, any of that. Now, another reason why you are going back to him, I said familiarity. Now, the second one is because you feel like, well, I'm not perfect. And, and I don't, I'm not going to be judgmental because, I've made mistakes in my life. And so because of the way you feel about you, and because you don't feel worthy or deserving, or you feel unlovable, you think you got to extend him a helping hand. You feel you got to extend him the benefit of the doubt. You feel like, well, I've done things too. Okay, but have you done stuff on the level that he's done to another person? Have you deliberately and intentionally just gone out and hurt people and just for your own personal jollies, or not even grasped the fact that that's actually what you're doing because you justified it to yourself in a way to where you feel like, hey, that's what I do, that you're entitled to that? Okay? So stop trying to put yourself in the same class as him and say, well, I don't want to judge him because I made mistakes. Maybe you've done some things that you're not proud of, and that's why you don't look in the mirror with pride and confidence. Maybe you've made some poor choices, said yes too many times to some things you wish you hadn't done with more than one man. And you don't feel like you have the right to have standards, and you don't feel like you have the right to tell a man, well, you got to show up like this if you want to be in my energy, when you don't even feel that you're worthy of it, because you're like, well, I'm not perfect. And, and I do have this, I've done some things, and I'm not, I feel shame in my body and guilt in my body. And so therefore, I don't think I'm worthy of someone who is not going to just be, okay. I don't think I have the right to ask for more because I'm not really on the same level of what I would like to have, but I know that I don't deserve that for whatever reason. See, I'm just speaking out loud, the things that might be going on in your head. Okay. Now, here's the thing. The third reason why you might be bringing your ex back into your life, or why you keep going back to him, is because you don't trust yourself to choose somebody else that's going to be better. In fact, you may not even believe that you will find somebody better than him. And so you may feel like, well, he's my last chance at love, or, well, you know what? Hey, he's better than nobody. Madam, no. Like we just talked about. Toxicity is not better than loneliness. You can cure loneliness. You can get a hobby, get some new friends, but you can't do nothing if you are trying to make a life in you can't thrive in toxicity. Yes, we all grow up and become who we are because of the traumas we experienced in childhood. And by the way, everybody has experienced childhood trauma because nobody had perfect parents. And all of our parents hurt us inadvertently by heaping upon us beliefs and conditioning and messaging around who we are allowed to be, what we were allowed to have, and what we were allowed to do in an effort to protect us and in an effort to help us to survive. But all of those things have not served us. And even in their examples, sometimes it caused us harm because we've grown up and chosen people that look like them in their behavior and in how they treat us and how they make us feel. And it has not served us well in our life and in our purpose. And so I only say that to you so that you understand not to blame your parents, but just so that you get the fact that these things that you're dealing with, this familiarity, this way that you feel about yourself, the poor choices that you made, there is a root cause. There is a root cause, and you can develop an awareness of that. But once you identify that root cause and you understand the beliefs that came from it and the actions and the choices and the decisions and the behaviors that you've made from that, you have to change what's going on in here. You have to change those limiting beliefs. You have to change that programming and that conditioning so you're no longer operating in that state. Okay? For example, if your brain is a computer, it's never going to do anything differently than what it's programmed to do. So you got to change your programming. And changing your programming means making toxicity unfamiliar. It means raising your self-worth to the point to where you do embody and fully believe that you are worthy and deserving of love and being treated well and kindly and with respect, simply because you live, breathe, and exist, not because you had to do something and perform and prove. Or no, human decency. Everybody is worthy and deserving of being treated with love and respect simply because they exist. That is what's good and decent. Are you not worthy of the minimum standard of good and decency? Yes, you are. So why are you accepting less than that and going out and dragging somebody back into your life who's not even showing you that as their minimum standard? If human decency ought to become familiar to you. Being treated well ought to become what is familiar to you, not toxicity, not mistreatment, not arguing and fighting and scratching and all this stuff. No. And what also needs to change is the belief that you have that you're not going to find somebody better, or that this is your last chance at love, or that you are so flawed and blemished that nobody would really ever want you that's worth something. That no man that's really good and righteous and loving and kind would ever want someone like you. Because that's how you look at yourself. You judge yourself and you put yourself down and you tell yourself that you're not worthy and deserving. And that is your truth. That is your programming, but it's not true. And so that has to change. Okay. So a big part of this is you got to stop bringing your ex back into your life. Like I said, you got to understand why you're doing it. And now I've broken it down. So now you know why you're doing it. And so in order to change, to stop yourself, okay, I know why, but how do I keep from doing it? Well, I'm going to get into that into the next video. And we're going to be talking about what you are going to need to do so that you stop feeling compelled to drag this man back into your life. Or maybe you've done this more than once. I hope not. But I will get into that into the very next video, especially if you're watching this on YouTube. I'm going to pop it here if you're watching the replay, or if you're watching this live, just stay tuned for tomorrow, because that is what we are going to be